It's often the case that the startup life is very unromantic. Long hours, schlubby hoodies, and fewer showers than there are days in the week. But that's not the case here. I had the exquisite pleasure of sitting down with Charbel Mawad, who with his fiancée, Lisa Hermosillo, co-founded Projo, a company offering protein-infused power coffee. We get into their founding story, which is sure to make your heart flutter, and their go-to-market strategies, which are just as sexy. Charbel offers some priceless advice for early founders that he and Lisa have applied to land a retail distribution deal that many only dream of. And I get to try some power coffee. Actually, why don't let's crack it open right now.
I love it.
I haven't tried this yet, actually, before, so here we go.
There we go. Welcome to the power life.
No notes. That's really good. Most importantly, I learned that sometimes in this life, all you really need to do is
drink a couple more sips.
That's so true. I just gotta drink it.
Just chug the can. I think you'll be good. You might need a whole can right now, bro. That's the power life.
Yeah, dude. I like this new power life. Power life looks good on me.
I think it does.
Here is Charbel. All right, Charbel.
Mm-hmm.
You started Projo in your kitchen back in 2019 with a blender and a dream.
Yes.
What were you trying to solve for at that time?
I was actually trying to solve my now fiance's problem of not being able to drink coffee. So, Lisa, my fiance and co-founder, she loved the idea of coffee, but every time she drank it, she got jitters, got anxiety and got a crash later. And then my background comes from fitness and nutrition. I used to compete as a professional natural bodybuilder. So after doing a lot of research and really wanting Lisa to be able to enjoy coffee with me and not suffer from it, I learned that regular caffeine alone spikes your cortisol, and that's what causes a lot of jitters and anxiety. And then you get a crash later, and then you pair that with like sugar, and that's just like an even worse crash afterwards. So I found out when you combine protein and caffeine, protein slows the absorption of the caffeine, and it gives it like a slow, sustained release over a longer period of time. And it kind of tapers off smoothly at the end. So, long story short, I was making this product for Lisa. She started drinking it, loved it, felt great, no symptoms, no side effects, didn't get any of the jitters or the crash or any of that. And that's actually exactly why the brand started and why the product was created.
So those origins are more romantic than most startup origin stories tend to be.
Yeah.
You guys were just friends at the time?
Yeah, at the time we were just friends.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Mm-hmm. You're a good guy.
Thank you. Thank you.
How long did it take from that point for her to agree to marry you? Because for me, if someone was building a company, it would have been instant.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not making a product for the woman you love, or how much do you actually really love her?
What are you doing?
What are you even doing?
What are you doing?
I try not to go telling that stories when we're with couples at events or functions, because they just the guys feel horrible about themselves. But no, I mean, to give you a little backstory on me and Lisa, we've been friends and known each other since 2015.
Wow.
She's my favorite person, obviously, in the world. And in 2019, when I created the product for her, she was just an active, drinker of it, and believed in the product and how it was working for her, and kind of what we were building towards. And then it took 3 years after that to actually get her to agree to marry me. But we were friends in 2019. We started dating, a couple years after that in 2021. And then in 2022, we got engaged.
Wow.
And what really convinced her to actually become my co-founder and build Projo with me was not just that I'm amazing or she loved me so much or the product was great, but really because Lisa is a humanitarian at heart, and she wants to be able to help, and she does a lot of community work and has done a lot over the course of her life. But I really convinced her that we can actually change a lot of people's lives and create a positive impact in the world, not just through the product, but through our social impact and our outreach efforts. And that's really what convinced her to just come on board and actually build this thing with me. And through building the business, and we've been able to really give back to the community locally and globally. We've been able to like donate over like $50,000 of like product and funds to those that like are suffering from like famine and hunger and really like have not much resources, like just basic needs essentially. So we were able to give back financially through the business. We were able to give back our time and resources to help like feed the hungry here locally, partner with high schoolers and teach entrepreneurship and also like donate product to Second Harvest Food Bank and also like give some resources and money and support to those needed in countries that are suffering like overseas. So through that I was able to really convince her to join me on this journey. Yeah,
that's huge, and that's awesome that you've been able to do that. I definitely want to get into because I know part of your journey has been being this local company, giving back to the community that you're from. That's so cool to have that mission and have that be part of the DNA of Projo. So I definitely want to get into that more. First, I want you to take us back to those first blended Projo tests.
Yeah.
What were you tossing into your blender? What were you pulling out of your pantry for those first tests?
Yeah, the first test, literally, I just had like a tub of protein powder, and I had my cold brew coffee, just the coffee that I was buying from the store, and then I was literally just like combining the coffee, the protein powder, milk, some like cane sugar, and really whipping that up and trying to experiment with like different like protein powders, different coffees, but like literally all the initial ingredients that I started making Projo with in the early days was just like purchased from like Whole Foods or like from Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when did you say, okay, I found something that maybe I feel comfortable testing on somebody else?
I think like, when I found first, like, Lisa obviously had to like love the product, and she's like super picky with like obviously how it tastes and, like the texture of it and like how it's digested. So like I needed to kind of like create this product that tasted good, like functioned and like a coffee, not like, it was thick and slimy like a protein shake. So I had to ensure that like the consistency was right, that the flavor was there, like you got, that you can taste the coffee, it wasn't too sweet and all that. And like, the product has always been lactose free from the beginning because, Lisa, like she's lactose intolerant, and then like also she can't consume whey protein because that like puts her stomach in a bind, and like so we knew like in the beginning it had to be lactose free, like no whey. So experimented with non-whey protein powders, and then like trying to get like that texture, taste, and consistency right. So that's how it initially kind of got started.
Where'd you take it after Lisa?
To the gym. Yeah, I took it to the gym, gave it to some people there that I knew, my peers at the gym, at work, and really just wanted to get other people's feedback because we knew like Lisa loved it, I loved it, our family loved it, but like then we wanted to expand out of that and like that circle and like get like strangers and other people to get their honest feedback, and then like we gathered their feedback, and then I made some iterations to the formula that I created, but essentially like everyone unanimously loved the idea of like being able to get like coffee and protein all in one. And then when they actually drank it and like felt the difference and like regular coffee and whatever, they were like hooked on it.
So when did you decide that it was ready for wider distribution than just your immediate community?
Yeah.
And what did that look like?
Yeah, for sure. So, we got the feedback of people at the gym and our peers, and they, at the time I was just handing it to them to drink. Like I wasn't like charging them for it. But then they like some of the remarks initially were like, I could drink this all day long. And they like kept asking for more of it. And I kept bringing them more. And I'm like, okay, if they're coming back and asking for more, it's like, okay, there's something there, they want it. There's a need for this product. So I thought, well, one, I got to start charging you now. But two, we actually did our first like pop-up demo table at the gym that my home gym now, which at the time was 49ers Fit. So we set up a table. You know, I got the okay of the manager, told him like, hey, here's a product I started making, and like I want to set up a gym. Is it okay if I can sell it? So at the time we brought like maybe 30 bottles to the event, to the sampling event, and I was just like, you know, I didn't even know what to expect. I didn't even know if I was even going to sell one. You know, maybe someone felt bad for me. But, you know, we had like the few people that were trying it that were really excited that I was there and they were supportive. But like when we were getting, you know, strangers, complete strangers to come stop by and taste it and seeing their reaction. And then they're like, how can I buy this? And then I'm like, well, I have some here. You know, I can sell it to you right now. So I sold those 30 bottles in like less than 2 hours. And I was just like, honestly, I was like on the moon or over the moon or whatever you say. I was just like such on a high that I'm like, I sold 30 bottles of this. Like, this is crazy. You know, like people were paying money for this drink that I was making in my blender at the time. Like, it was just fantastic. It was the best feeling ever, you know? Mm-hmm. It was kind of like when you're a kid and you're at like a lemonade stand and people are like buying your lemonade, and I was just like, this is great. So, you know, we were on that high for that one event, and then we're like, okay, this happened once. Like, are these same people like going to come back and want to buy it again? At the time, we like had no Instagram, we had no website, we had like nothing, you know? So I go and set up like another table at that same gym, sold out again, you know? And then I'm like, all right, now let's make a website. And then I was giving people like my personal phone number at the time because like we had like nowhere for them to contact us. So I was like, here's my phone number. I was getting texts like, where can I buy more? And then I was like, you know, just text me your order, I'll deliver it to you. Like, just, you know, super scrappy. I was like writing it down in my notes and like, this person wants this many bottles. And then through that, we got like a website started super quickly. And then our Instagram was started too. And then we were just getting like DMs from like people that saw us at the gym. And then they were like placing their orders. And then I would like, since I worked out at the gym and they were buying it from there, from my table there, I would kind of coordinate like a drop-off time to when they would work out, or like when I would be there, I would like bring bottles with me in my cooler and just like either have them in my car to go grab for them, or like literally I'd bring it with me into the gym with like a little cooler, and then the people that were ordering would like see me there and they would just like, we would do a transaction in the gym, literally.
Wow.
And you know, eventually we kind of set up like a local delivery kind of system. And we were just taking orders and delivering just like within like a couple mile radius of that gym. And that was kind of how like the first like few months were kind of started, just doing like local deliveries, selling to people like at the gym in like in a cooler. And then eventually, you know, we started getting a few gyms in the area to like agree to like sell our product like in their fridges. And then we were doing more pop-up tables and sampling tables like at different gyms. And then got like a couple like local grocery stores to do it. And I mean, this is like all while the product had like a one week shelf life. So like it had to move quickly, but it was like really proving out the concept very fast that like there was a need or a want for like a protein enhanced coffee drink.
So you're lighting the community on fire with this coffee drink. Where do you go from there? You're ready for wider reach. How do you scale from that point?
Yeah, so I mean, at the time, like the product, we moved out of my kitchen, my mom's kitchen, and out of our blender there, and relocated to like a local community kitchen.
New blender.
So new blender, more space. You know, like slowly was kind of like building it up, like ramping up the production and whatnot. But like, you know, at the same time, I had 2 jobs. I was a substitute teacher and I worked at a bank. Wow. So I was doing this after all of that, like at night. So like we were making the product like 9, 10, 11 p.m. up until like sometimes 1, 2 a.m. And then we would set up these sampling tables at gyms and whatnot, like right after I got off work around like, you know, 5, 6, 7 p.m., the busy times at the gym. So it'd be like a lot of foot traffic there, and then we'd like sell the product that we'd made the previous night, kind of, you know, that continue with that cycle, and then do deliveries. Like we had different days to do deliveries that we like different time windows customers can choose from. So I mean, the big struggle at the time was one, like how can we fund the growth, because like it was all self-funded. It was all like, I literally actually sold my car to get like the LLC and like get enough money to buy ingredients and materials. Like I had a Infiniti G35 that I loved and adored, but I sold it because it had to be done because I really wanted to build this business.
Yeah, wow.
So, like the scale of it was tough because one, I didn't know what I was doing. And we were limited with like a short shelf life. And it was just kind of like trying to figure everything out. Like all I knew at the time was like people wanted the product, and like I just had to keep selling it. So like I'm like, okay, eventually like, I'll learn how to scale a business, and like I'll figure out the shelf life and like increase that. And I was just like, okay, I can figure that out as I go. So we were really like operating with like a 1 week shelf life all throughout like 2019. And then, COVID happened, the pandemic hit, everything closed, gyms closed, like everything was shut down. So like we're like, okay, how can we continue with like making sales, and how can this business continue? But we had to adapt, right? Mm-hmm. And find a way to do that. So we used the time to, one, rebrand, like we got out of the glass jar. At the time we got into like a plastic bottle, worked to increase the shelf life from 1 week to like 3 weeks, still perishable, iterated the branding of it, changed some ingredients in there. And then we got like a small grant from like the city with that money. It was like $10K. We bought a coffee trailer, and we ended up like, tricking it out. It looked really cool. Looked like a spaceship. But what we did with that was like, we were able now to like, sell our product out of this. And like, we picked locations where there were people at the time. And that was like, on hiking trails, in front of hiking trails, at the DMV, in front of hospitals, and at golf courses. So we made our route, and at parks, I would go park places until like, I got asked to leave or something, you know what I mean? Like, but a lot of the places we were able to go, people were there and they saw this cool, like spaceship looking like, time machine type of like trailer where we just like sold our protein coffee out of, and it was just something different, and it just got like a lot of attraction. And then we ended up taking that when farmers markets opened up. We got like a couple local farmers markets to agree to bring us in, and we just drove that coffee trailer up to farmers markets. And then that was all throughout like, that was like end of 2020 going into 2021. So then as things started to open up, like with gyms, and, we were now like trying to get back into like gyms, get new gyms, do more farmer market stuff, like, take the trailer and like park it in front of different locations. Like we ended up parking it like, in front of the beach, at the boardwalk, and like, just like, we're just trying to find people in like active outdoor settings, right? And then through that, we like built our local community, and we just got more like gyms to carry us. We got like natural grocery stores, that like local ones to carry us as well. And it was like still like a hyper local operation, and that carried through all throughout 2021. And that was all done with a product that had like a 3 week shelf life. It was perishable. So we still couldn't like, and it was still being bootstrapped, at the time, like the schools were still like, closed. So I wasn't doing the substitute teaching. And then I ended up like the bank job, like banks closed too. So it was just kind of like remote from that, but I was still like able to keep like one of the jobs, and then build and bootstrap the business. And yeah, we were just like literally just trying to figure out like what's next. We have this product, it was selling everywhere we put it. It was like we couldn't keep it on the shelf, and people kept wanting more, but we were very limited with like our production capacity, still making it in like a commercial kitchen with a short shelf life. So we learned, from gathering consumer feedback, that a lot of people wanted to travel with it. Like, I wish I can take this with me when I was like going on this road trip or going like flying somewhere or whatever. And then we were like, you know what, we can while we figure out how to make this thing shelf stable, the ready to drink, because we knew that was like the end goal, we can figure out a way to make the product shelf stable, but in a dehydrated format. And then people can just make it anywhere with just water. That's where we introduced the instant powder mixes, which we have, right here.
Yeah, show them off.
This is it right here. It didn't start off like this, but this is how they are now. So we were like, transitioning out of the local kind of operation with the ready to drink that we weren't able to scale given like the limited resources, and we were able to, scale the powders in a very efficient way, very quickly, more cost effectively. And then in the meantime, we're just working on a shelf stable ready to drink, which took a really long time. To nail that formula. But that was kind of like how we were thinking of expansion.
So were the first times that you got into grocery stores the first time that the product was being sold without you there actually selling it, the local grocery stores?
Yeah, the local grocery stores, it was just like in the fridge next to like the Starbuckses and all the other coffees. And then like at the gyms, we got like a lot of local gyms to carry it in their fridges, and we even like got our own like little mini like branded fridges.
Oh, nice.
That we just offered to the gyms, and we wrapped it so it would like be just all of our product in that fridge.
Cool.
And then we would like do like the samplings to kind of like promote the product and have people try it, and then be like, well, you can buy it from us right here from the gym.
Was it just the visibility of being in the community that got you into those grocery stores, or how did that work? How do you get your product into a grocery store?
Yeah, that's a really great question. At the time, I mean, we did have visibility locally, but it wasn't like anything that kind of like got the buyer's attention. So like, I would actually just walk right in and ask to speak to like the manager. I didn't even know what a buyer was at the time, like how that's like its own role in a store. They're bringing products in. I just thought like, hey, let me speak to who's in charge here, who makes the decisions. And then I kind of just walked in with my cooler and like the bottles. And I just literally pitched them on the product. I was like, this is our protein coffee. We're local, we sell at these locations right now. And I just wanted them to try it because like we were always like wanting to make the best tasting product. And like we were very certain like once someone tried it, they would love it. And then that would convince them to buy it or carry us in their store. And that was the case a lot of the times. And we would just have the manager or the buyer, whoever made the decision in the store, try our product. And then they loved the aspect of like, they liked seeing the hustle. They liked seeing that we were local. They loved the clean ingredients. It was a very novel, innovative product. There wasn't anything like it in their shelf. And they're just like, hey, we'll give it a shot, And yeah, that's how we started getting into stores.
So they were health grocery stores that you started at?
Yeah, natural grocery stores.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So when you dehydrated the product, was that when you could start selling it online? When did you open your online store?
Yeah, we opened it up for like shipments when we started doing the powder mixes, because we were able to now ship them, and that's kind of when we started shipping product. Okay.
And then your community expanded. Were you just shipping to 48 contiguous states, or where did people start hearing about Projo after that?
Yeah, I mean, well, that was hard to like really get any orders from any other state because we only had a presence locally, So we opened up like the option for people to purchase like nationally, and then initially it was like a lot of people like locally that either had friends or cousins or family that lived in other states, or like a lot of people were like visiting, and we were doing like at the time like a lot of events locally, and then some like running events, and the SF Marathon and the coffee festival and stuff, and like we were able to get new customers from like other states, and then even people from other countries, and they would just like they'd be able to buy our product, and now since it's like light and it's portable, they can like purchase it and take it with them. And it was all like organic. We had no presence in any other state, but eventually like through word of mouth and doing like more events and stuff like that, like we were able to like kind of, build up that customer base that's just out of the Bay Area,
Mm-hmm. So also key in the early Projo days were a few accelerator type programs?
So yeah, the first one we did was actually called ICA Fund.
Okay.
The ICA is like the name of the company, but they had like a local accelerator. They're supporting like local entrepreneurs that are like women and minority owned or underrepresented founders. So I found them through through actually on Instagram, and then I reached out and I found out they had like a cohort. It was called like ICA Lab, and then I applied, and that was actually our first accelerator that we got into. Wow. And that was back in 2023.
Cool.
Yeah.
What was it like being a beverage company in Silicon Valley, where most of the startups are tech? Did you find that dynamic was different than it would be elsewhere in the world? I don't know if you have heard experiences of other CPG type founders elsewhere, or if what's that community like here? And is there, when you're looking for distribution, is there competition, or is there like, this is, what was that like?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, the Bay Area is not notorious for like CPG or like a food and beverage. The focus is tech. There's other states like New York is really big on CPG, LA, but we actually had a lot of success in the Bay Area because a lot of the techies and all that, they all drink coffee, and a lot of people, are on their health grind and like on the gym grind and want more protein. And like, we actually through that, and not being like too saturated because the focus was on tech and we were here doing like beverage, we actually had I think more opportunity a lot quicker, because like our product is coffee and protein. It's like two things that a lot of people consume regularly, especially like working professionals. So we had a lot of success, like even from like local companies and startups that would like order our product for like their, for the break room and for their staff. So I think that was like a big competitive advantage for us, like being in the Bay Area, because there was like huge amount of people that were like into health and wellness and fitness, and then are large consumers of coffee.
Cool.
So I think it worked out in our favor.
Yeah, definitely. I can think of a few people in this room, part of our company, who drink coffee. I always get really stoked on products that have a social mission. Makes me want to root for them. Yeah. I imagine it helps you get up in the morning and work to make your, Projo dream work. How do you think having a social mission has affected the way that you present the business? Do you think it's benefited the business?
Yeah. And
how have you seen it also in a similar way that it is making me stoked about Projo, getting other people excited?
Yeah, definitely. So the social, back to like ICA labs and that influence on like our social impact, I think, we knew like at the core of our business that we wanted to be like, build this business as like a service and a platform to like help people, In what ways? That was kind of something that like, there's so many different ways that we want to help people, and I can get a little bit more into that. But I loved how ICA was very mission driven, and their focus was like serving the community, like the Bay Area community, and specifically like underrepresented groups like women and minority owned businesses that may not have as much opportunity, and giving them like the education and the tools and the resources to be able to like build their business and grow their business. And that was definitely something like we needed at the time, and that like I respected and really admired that about ICA. So it was like a great fit, and their values aligned with ours. So that definitely like was a huge benefit to me and to Projo, was that we were like aligned with like our values and our mission of like to be of service to the community. Now back to like our social mission, like, it is what wakes me and Lisa up in the morning with like a lot of encouragement and motivation to like be able to build a successful business, because there's like a phrase that I like, it's more money, more mission. So the more we're able to build and more money we can make with our business, the more we're able to help other people. Like Lisa, being like a humanitarian at heart, she was last year she was on a trip to Egypt distributing like groceries and medical supplies to refugees. Like a big thing for us too is like supporting the next generation. So we have this great opportunity to partner with like local high schools and students in entrepreneurship classes, and they were able to do like case studies on our business and be able to like eventually like create products of their own. And, you know, we've seen students do that over the last few years. And that's just like so rewarding, because like entrepreneurs are like the builders, you know, they're the creators of like, you know, building the economy and creating like the next like future, you know, whatever it is, Apple, or like, you know, something like a beverage product that people can like use and enjoy. So like we really want to teach entrepreneurships and give students the opportunity to be able to like create something, and for them to see kind of like what we're building and what we're doing. It's like really inspired them to want to do something of their own. So I think all of that together, I know I said a lot, but like, you know, clearly you can see this social impact is very important to us, but like we want to just be able to do like everything we can to like give back to like the local and the global community. Be able to educate the entrepreneurs of tomorrow and give them the resources to go on and build something of their own, and just like partner with like people and organizations that are like-minded and aligned with us and like our values and our mission. And I think through that we can like create like a compound effect and really just like build not just like a business, but like leave a legacy behind that, like we did everything we can to change people's lives, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's amazing that you have time for all of that stuff on top of building Projo. Mm-hmm. You literally just came from the high school that you teach at.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you're building a relationship with Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. As far as productivity,
mm-hmm.
maxing,
mm-hmm.
Can you be any more productive? Can you cram any more time in your day? How many Projos do you drink a day to keep yourself going?
Yeah, I drink like 2 to 3 Projos a day. So I wake up super, super early, like, 5 a.m. I get my workout in. I'll slam a Projo before the gym. And then, Lisa and I will go to the gym. And then we're both high school teachers. So what we do is on our drive to school, we're taking calls. Like usually if I'm driving, Lisa's on a call, or vice versa. We'll do that. Before school starts, I'll drop her off, where she teaches, a high school 10 minutes away from mine. So we're kind of on like a similar schedule. And we'll go teach, and during breaks, get on calls, do some Projo work. I'll usually slam my second Projo around like, I would say 11, 12, noon. And that'll, like, a lot of times I don't even have time to eat, because during like my lunch breaks, like I'm on calls, I really just don't have much time to eat, especially in the morning and afternoon. So like the Projos really help keep me full, keep me energized. Yeah, and the days usually end around like, 11, 12 p.m. A lot of times like I'm up even later than that, and Lisa too. Like it's just like the days are insanely long. We're just doing everything we can, but the thing is like we love what we're doing. So that makes it so much more, I want to say easier, but I don't want to throw out the word easy. But it's like when something is like fulfilling and like you're doing the right thing and you're doing what you want to be doing, it does like feel easier, because like you're kind of driven by the love for what you're building.
Yeah, no, none of this sounds easy.
Yeah, easy is like a subjective term. Yeah, but like it is definitely more like rewarding, and through the reward and fulfillment, it feels like easier.
Right. Yeah, for sure. So as you're driving the spaceship coffee trailer around the Bay Area, peddling Projo, how are you? And then also selling the dehydrated packets, starting to ship those. How are you starting to look at retail distribution and getting into more grocery stores? Yeah,
so we knew that we wanted to obviously scale our grocery distribution and figure out what retailers we want to get into next. And we actually got into Fresh Time Market as our first kind of larger natural grocer. And the way that kind of came about was we got a random message one day that came from our website, and it was like the Fresh Time buyer. 6 months after he first saw us, he reached out and said, "Hey, I'm interested in bringing your product into my stores." Like he had saw us at a trade show, liked the brand, liked the product, and then He's like, we have 70 stores. I want to get you in all of them. So we were obviously stoked because now we have a presence out of the Bay Area. And Fresh Time is in 9 states, primarily in the Midwest. But what that opened up was a distributor called KeHE. So KeHE is one of the top 2 like main distributors in like food and beverage. So we automatically, like, that store anchored us into KeHE. So now we were in KeHE's distribution center in the Midwest, and Fresh Time. Now we jumped from like being in, I don't know, like 10 or 15 stores locally to now 70 more locations. So we had to, like, ramp up like our production and like learn how to, handle like logistics with the distributor. And, we got out of like our kitchen our commercial kitchen, because we were like still making a product there before, but we ended up finding like a co-packer, and then they're like a co-manufacturer that made our product and like blended the powders and put them in like stick form and packaged them and did all that. So we were able to like get all that done and then be able to launch into 70 Fresh Time Market locations with our stick pack mixes. And then back during that time, we didn't have the ready to drinks anymore. Like, we had transitioned completely to the powders, but like I mentioned, we were still like working on the formulation for ready to drink and figuring out like how we were gonna like get all that done. And that was like a huge process, which I can get into. But yeah, Fresh Time Market was like our first large natural retailer, and that gave us like a bigger distribution throughout like the Midwest, and opened up that key distributor called KeHE.
Okay.
Yeah.
When was this? What year was that?
This was in 2024.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me more also about the trade show experience. I imagine you were going to as many of those as you could get into, get a ticket to, or however it works. In what other ways are you putting yourself out there during that time to try and land these deals?
Yeah, so I said 2024. It actually happened in early 2025. The buyer from Fresh Time had actually like first heard about us in 2024.
Okay.
And then we were at a trade show. It's all coming back to me now. It's called the Fancy Food Show. It was a show in where was it at the time? I believe it was I think it was in Las Vegas, but that was in like January of 2025. And that was like our second biggest like food show that we've done at the time. We did the Fancy Food Show in New York that previous summer, and then we did the West Coast one in January of 2025. So we were just trying to get our foot through the door by getting into like, more food trade shows and stuff. Because before that, we were just doing like community events, partnering with like gyms and like run clubs and stuff like that. But we wanted to get in front of like retail buyers and grocery buyers and distributors and all that. So we did the Fancy Food Show, and then that's where we got like some attention there, met some buyers, and then that's kind of how we got into Fresh Time, by like having that presence at the Fancy Food Show. Made some great contacts there with like other retailers. So we were just trying to like do more like grocery, food, beverage specific like shows. That's how we're getting like more like visibility from like buyers.
And what about other programs or other accelerators, labs were you applying to that maybe, did you get grants from them during this time?
Yeah.
I imagine you're just casting every line into the water that you can.
Really, yeah, we were, exactly. And like, again, at the time, still was working, was teaching, Lisa and I were bootstrapping it. We were applying to like different accelerators. So we did like a small one called the Real California Milk Accelerator. We did the REI, it was called, at the time, it was like the Ascend, I believe it was like the Ascend cohort, or I forget the name exactly, but it was like through REI Path Ahead Ventures. And the packets being a product that like was great for outdoor and on the go and travel and hiking and camping and all that. That was like a really good fit. So we were just like, like trying to be a part, like they didn't really have like these like large grants, or even like some of them didn't have like any grants or anything. It was just like trying to get more knowledge and resources and connections and kind of like learn more about the industry and like from people that have done it before. And like, so we learned a lot, but was still bootstrapping and self-funding it. We now, let's see, we're in like end of 2025, I guess we're end of 2024 into 2025. We're out of like we did the Real California Milk Accelerator. And then now I want to like talk more about how like the ready to drink was coming to fruition. Because like 2025 was like a really like breakthrough year, in a sense where we finished the formulation of the ready to drink, but we got some really great news from like Target. So I'm gonna backtrack to Expo West in March of 2025 through another accelerator, Naturally Network. It was called like I forget what it's called, but it was like a minority like focused accelerator through Naturally Network. And then we were able to go to Expo West and not have a booth there, but we got like tickets there. And then we had like opportunities to like meet with like buyers and, certain people like separate to Expo West, like in a different like part of like the convention center or whatever. And then by being at that event, we were able to like get a meeting with like a Target buyer. So,
wow.
Yeah, that's where and again, at the time we just had the packets. We didn't have the ready drinks yet, but like we were still like formulating it. So we had like the design of how the can was going to look, but we were still working on the formulation. But I was at Expo West. I had this meeting with a Target buyer, and I had 15 minutes to wow her. And I had the deck. I brought like a physical deck, so we were going through everything. I had the product. I had her try it. She just loved like the brand, the product. Loved what we were doing with like protein and coffee. And then I was like, telling her, hey, we're also working on a ready to drink. Here's how it's gonna look. It's not quite done yet, but she what she did was the buyer for the powder category was there as well. So she ended up passing my information and samples along to the right buyer. And then she said, when you have the ready to drinks ready, reach back out. I'd love to try them. And we could talk more about that. So I left that meeting like with, not like really, no expectations of what was going to happen. I just like knew I did my best and they love the brand and the product. And then about a couple weeks later, we get an email from the other buyer, the one that's actually the buyer for the powders. And she said, the buyer for the ready to drinks, she forwarded your info and like the product. She gave me samples. I tried it. I really liked it. I'd like to get on a call and then learn more about, your brand. And we were like, this is fantastic.
Yeah,
so
that's huge.
Yeah, this was incredible. And then right before Expo West, when we were at the Fancy Food Show, we met our now broker for Target. So they approached us, they really liked the brand. They just focus on Target specifically. They've been doing it forever. And they're like, we'd love to kind of work together. And at the time we were just like, we're still like, we're early, but we'd love to, we'd love to keep in touch. And, once it's time, we'd love to like work together and like launch at Target. So I was still staying in touch with them. And like, I reached out to them and said like, hey, we have this meeting like with the buyer, like we'd love for you to join. And they did. And we got on this meeting and, it went great. We talked about the product, like the brand, the buyer loved her story. And she ended up we first found out we got in with the packets, like to Target. We actually got the news of that, and like this was even before the ready to drink was even like a thing. But what we had done, like just being super scrappy, is when we got like our samples of the ready to drink, but that came in glass. Like it wasn't in a can, it just like was in a plain glass jar. I reached out to the initial buyer from Target that I met at Expo West. I'm like, hey, we have samples of like a prototype. It's not like in a can, but it's gonna taste the same. Like, would you be open to trying that? She's like, oh yeah, I would love to. We're not judging on like the look, we're just judging on taste. So I'm like, oh wow, like this is great. I wasn't expecting to be like, yeah. I was just like, let me shoot my shot. Why not? So we send samples out, and then like they tried it, you know, and really liked it. And there was like, you know, a transition happening internally. So like that buyer for the ready to drinks ended up like just moving to a different position. There was like a new buyer in, and like we, you know, with the ready to drinks, we kind of had to like restart with like everything. But you know, the initial buyer like ended up, you know, putting a good word in for us, I guess. But anyway, we're like, okay, that's going on with the ready to drink buyer, but now we have like, let's focus on the powders. Like we found out we got in with the powders, and that was like incredible. Like we're like, oh my gosh, we're launching into Target, this is great. And then we found that out like while we were boarding a flight to another trade show called the Newtopia trade show. So we found out we were getting in to Target like as we're boarding the flight, and we didn't even really like have time to like celebrate or anything. We were like exhausted. We're like, oh, this is great. Like it just didn't soak in yet, but we're like, wow, this is crazy. And then anyway, so like we're debuting then the can at like we finally now at this point now we're in August of 2025. I want to kind of make a timeline. So we sent prototypes of the ready to drink that was in glass. We sent that out in like around June 2025, and then come August we have the can that we're debuting at Newtopia, and then we get this news that we're launching the powders into Target. So we're excited about that. We debuted the can at Newtopia, which is like, it used to be Expo East, but it's one of like the bigger food and beverage trade shows. That was in Colorado. So we ended up winning like like an award there called like Best New Product on the Block. It's like a fan voted thing for the cans. Like they chose like our product as like, you know, their fan favorite, and that brought like a lot of attention to the ready to drink can. And then about a month later, we were invited to go to the Target Wellness Summit, at their first ever Wellness Summit at their HQ in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So again, we haven't even met the new buyer yet for like the ready to drink. She's still new, you know, but like we wanted to like get the product in front of her. There were some internal conversations about it, but like anyways, like we went to that trade show, or I mean the Wellness Summit, and then we had our cans there. We were able to present both the powders and the cans. So like everyone like from Target HQ, and like there's only 50 brands that were selected for that, I believe. So we were one of those. And then we still didn't get to meet the new Target buyer, but like we made sure like we gave cans to like everyone else that worked with her to like, I'm sure that after that show she had a bunch of cans sitting on her desk when she came back. But we end up after that summit, we get an email from the new Target buyer for the ready to drink. She's like, I'm interested in like exploring the ready to drink for my set. She would love to get on a call. So this was around like September, end of September. So we'd already found out the powders are launching, and then we get on a call with the Target buyer, and like it was just like such an incredible call from the beginning. She loved the story that, you know, I made it for Lisa, loved the product, loved the brand, you know, fit like her vision for what she wants on her shelf at like in the coffee set. So she said she sees us as like a category leader in ready to drink coffee, like so much excitement, so much like positive feedback. And then like she was interested in bringing us in, and that was back in September. So we got that news that, you know, we didn't know like how many stores and exactly the specifics, but we just like, you know, we knew we were launching our cans and our powder, like both product lines into Target in 2026. So that was like surreal, honestly, like surreal. And then, so now we're fast forward to December. This is when the BevNET new beverage showdown. So I was like, we have this new product, the ready to drink cans. I wanted to like, we had won the Newtopia now, like best new product on the block. And I'm just like, I knew there was this big beverage competition coming up, and I wanted to apply to that and just go pitch and win the award. There's some great brands that came out of that show that have won, like Poppi, Health Aid Kombucha, like Liquid Death, was a semifinalist, really well-known brands that are very successful. I applied to this competition. It was in December. It was like a 2-day pitch. The first day we were pitching we're one of the 12 brands pitching, and the 6 brands would move on to the final phase, which was the second day. So we actually ended up winning that competition. So it was called the BevNET New Beverage Showdown, and winning just got so much validation for us, from the industry, from CPG beverage, veterans and leaders in the industry, and so much inbound from investors, retailers, distributors, and it just kind of really put us on the radar and on the map. There was conversation around our power coffee cans. So we won that, and so now we have this huge momentum going, right?
Yeah.
We won the Newtopia now, best new product on the block. We have our ready to drink cans now. They're a real thing after several years of working on them. Feedback's been awesome. We launched them into just select stores initially in the Bay Area when around that September time, just to see how they'd perform. They were just crushing it. They were just doing so well. Everywhere we put them, they're just doing so well. And then, we were just we're on this high from everything that was going on, but we know we had good momentum. We couldn't stop. So
absolutely.
We were just kind of going from there and just building. We're in scale mode now.
Yeah. So what's next? When do I get to walk into a Target and see Projo?
So in about a week, you can walk in and buy the powders, the packets. They're going to be coming in a 4-pack box. They're going to be in about 631 locations nationwide. So we have a store finder on our website. You can see where we're sold at your local Target. And then in August, our ready-to-drink cans will be launching into every single Target nationwide. That's about almost 2,000 Target stores. So you'll be able to purchase our packets in a week and our cans in a couple months from Target. And then, we're also actively fundraising. We're over 50% of the way done with a round. So we're nearing the end. So that's been a process that we're really focused on, is getting the right investors and partners on board to help us scale this, bringing on the right people, building out our team. We've been primarily retail focused, so it's really important for us to have a good omni-channel approach, and that's where we really love working with Leo to build out our digital business, our direct-to-consumer business, and just kind of utilizing the platform to drive sales online and also drive people into the stores through really targeted advertising.
Cool. So it sounds, obviously this is not the case, but to an outsider, it might sound like you were in the right place at the right time, meeting these buyers at these trade shows.
Yeah.
But how would you characterize that, and what advice would you have for somebody who is trying to build a company in a similar way?
I think just put yourself out there as much as you can. Apply to a lot of industry accelerators. If in your food and beverage CPG industry, there's a bunch of them that through them you'll eventually meet the right people, get an opportunity to pitch to maybe Target or your dream retailer or someone, or an investor. Someone will hear of you that's relevant in the industry that you're in. So I would say definitely leverage accelerators and those types of programs. And I think just keep showing up at as many events as you can. For us, trade shows was really, really big early on. The fancy food shows are a really good one. It's not as crazy as Expo West, because if you have a booth there, you can easily kind of get lost in it being a small early brand. So I think a good start would be a fancy food show, and even Newtopia is the level above that, I would say. And I think just be in front of the right people, put yourself out there, put your brand and your product out there, and then just be focused on creating the best possible product you can, and just listen to your customer and be customer obsessed, and take their feedback and iterate around what the consumer wants, not what like these professionals tell you should do. Because like at the end of the day, like the people buying your product are the consumer, so their opinion matters the most. So I would say those 3 things would be like the most important thing that you should focus on.
Stellar advice. Yeah, that's awesome. So you mentioned a few times that the buyers that you were talking to really liked the brand. What work did you put in on the brand that got them really stoked on it? And obviously a lot of that's this awesome story that is the origin of Projo. So tell me more about the work that your brand is doing.
Yeah, I think the brand itself, the story really resonated, like why you're doing what you're doing. Buyers really like, that emotional appeal really like gets through to people, especially them. So I think a good story of why you started. I think like, what your product is, ours being like a protein coffee, but like the focus on, it was created a certain way. Like my background in fitness and nutrition, I wanted it to be a certain way. I needed certain ingredients in there, like certain macros, like it has to be clean label. Like that really appealed to like the buyers like of the natural channel. Like even like now, I mean, everyone really wants like to consume like products that are all natural. Like it's really becoming really mainstream, but like that's been our like thing from the beginning, is like we want it to be all natural. Like I've always, like even when I competed in bodybuilding, I got my pro card in natural bodybuilding. Like I'm all about that natural life, like you can, through natural ingredients, like real foods, like quality protein, like you can really just get really good like benefits to your life and to your body. So like just being focused on like the product, like that's part of like our brand. Like the brand is the product in a way too. So like focusing on the ingredients and the product and the taste and the function, and being able to like deliver the message of what your product is with like your branding. So like as you see, like the cans and the packets have like way different branding, but like they're both like Projo Power Coffee, right? We have our powders, which are like very fun and vibrant and colorful, and like they stand out a lot, and they really appeal to like the use case of like, on the go, travel, hike, camp, activity. And they're great to take with you, and they're portable stick packs. So that has its own use case. The REI crowd loves it. So that fit perfectly for that demographic. And we're very aware of that. We're very like, after building this thing, we know who our customer is, we know where they are, we know how we can appeal to them, and that's translated through the product. And then with the cans, completely different branding and approach to the powders. And they're more of like that, they're very clean, they're professional, they're premium looking, they're sleek. Like it's a nice matte background. And it's very like straight to the point. Like in a couple seconds, you'll know it's power coffee. It's like, it's going to give you something beyond just like coffee. Why is it power coffee? It's high in protein, it's high in caffeine. That combination, like from what people used to say, it's like, wow, I feel powerful. I feel like, feel great, feel happy, energized, strong. It's like that feeling of power. So like, we know exactly what's important is like what's on the beginning. The name tells you it's coffee. Obviously the flavor, the protein, and the caffeine call out right on the front. Lactose free, it's right there. So in a few seconds, like you'll know what you're getting yourself into, with both products, and it appeals to that demographic or that, that audience and that use case. So I think really before you present, your product to like target buyers or like, these like big buyers and whatever, like really like know what your product is and who your customer is, and like how you can tell a story of not just like why you started or who your, like what your brand is, but like what your product is and how it's going to stand out, and like really sell them on that. And like always be open to taking feedback. Like we've iterated so many times, like with both the powders and the cans, like, and it's constantly like, it's changed, and we're like always like open to feedback from like the right people, of course, but like feedback's still feedback, take it as it is. But like if you're hearing the same thing over and over again, like maybe like pay close attention to that, and like, not be closed-minded, just be open-minded to learn and always like evolve and change. And yeah, I think like just be open to learning and really like pay attention and listen carefully to everyone who's telling you whatever you need, whatever they want to tell you about like the taste or the brand or the product. Just like whether it's positive or negative, just always like listen and hear them, because every opinion or like every thought I think matters in one way or another.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Charbel. This has been awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for making the time.
Of
Thanks
course.
for the advice.
Yeah, definitely.
And thanks for the power coffee.
Cheers.
Cheers.